Hi folks, Joseph Kursky here with you to do a little bit of raster analysis inside ArcGIS Online. Raster analysis. Again, mostly for people that have been using ArcGIS Desktop or ArcMap, so it's a bit of a brief dive, but hopefully helpful for those of you that are just getting into ArcGIS Pro. Notice I've got some layers in here in my ArcGIS Pro project. I've got some DEMs, I've got some land cover data, and I've got other things. If I go to analysis and go to tools, I'm going to use some raster tools here. How about a hillshade? Something pretty basic. I've got an input raster, which is my DEM, 30-meter DEM. My output raster is going to be written to my geodatabase. I'm going to give it a meaningful name that I can be able to come back to later and do further work on it. I'm going to leave the azimuth and altitude as the default, so now I'm going to get a hillshade from my DEM. It's as simple as that. You're running the analysis tools, in this case a raster-based tool, creating my nice hillshade in the loose hills of eastern Nebraska. Love that landscape so much. Let's create a slope now from our original DEM, a slope layer. And okay, I'm going to give it a meaningful name once again. I'm going to take the defaults there, degree and planar, so it's important to know what the defaults are in any software, including GIS. I'm going to go ahead and run this. Now I've got a slope layer where I've got lines depicting slope of my data. Okay, reflecting in this case elevation. I can make a slope map of any variable, really. It's important to know what you're dealing with. Okay, raster calculator. Now let's say I want to think about, in the case of this context in this lesson, I'm going to have the students and others that are learning GIS figure out what the best location for a fire tower would be, high and flat ground. So in order to get there, I want my slope to meet a certain criteria. So I'm going to use the raster calculator because it's raster data that I'm dealing with, so I can't use select by attributes in this case. Slope is less than 15. Is that what I want? Yes. I can notice I've got all kinds of tools here at my fingertips. And, what else can I do here? I've got data at my fingertips. They're all inside my ArcGIS Pro project, all inside my geodatabase, and I've got my DEM as well. Okay, my slope is less than 15, and my elevation from my 30-meter raster, I want that to be above, what do I have here? Wow, I've got a lot of information at my fingertips. I want to make sure that I put the proper brackets. My slope is less than 15 and my elevation is above 1100. It's important to know what the units are. In this case, it's feet above sea level, so 1100 feet. So we've got slope, low elevation, or slope, low slope, high elevation. So, okay, what do we have at our fingertips now? We've just run a raster calculator. The true values are 1. The values that the cells that did not meet the criteria are 0. So now I've got this area down here in the southwest part meeting their criteria are in this certain color. I can change the color, of course, if I want to, with the tools that I've got at my fingertips inside ArcGIS Pro. Let's adjust that now, and I'm going to adjust this slightly, and I'm going to give it a slightly different name for the output. Yes, so now I've got flat ground that's even higher, and now notice that it is much more constrained in terms of my areas I'm now figuring and considering for my fire tower location. So now I've adjusted my input on my raster calculator, and I have a new output raster layer, which of course I can symbolize and make things transparent. So now I can, up in the upper pane there, I can make the layer that I've just created a semi-transparent, so I can drape it on top of that hillshade. So now I really see the areas that are going to lead me to my final analysis. Very powerful to be able to do this in ArcGIS Pro. And now I've got some other data as well that I'm going to factor in here. What if I'm interested in fires, specifically raster layer, this land cover layer, and I'm really interested in the range of pasture grass. So in other words, I want to look at wildfires in grassland areas. Okay, so let's go ahead and select those areas there. And now I've got additional criteria that I can use for my final sites where I've got, oh gosh, okay, now I can symbolize this. And I'm looking at the grassland areas that are low slopes, in other words, they're flat, and high elevation. Ooh, look at that. Now, those are the areas that I'm interested in for possible siting of my fire towers. So I've used the raster calculator. I have created a couple of new grids. They're stored inside my geodatabase, inside my ArcGIS Pro project. I'm looking at the table of data. I can see how many cells meet the criteria, 312 cells, and they're 30 by 30 meters, so they're basically 900 square meters each, and there are 312 of them. So I know exactly how much area that I'm considering now for my fire towers. Now I can do additional analysis to figure out, okay, how far are these from roadways? Can we get construction crews in there to build these fire towers, etc.? Those are all part of the lesson that this is a small part of, but I hope you get a sense of in a set of 10 lessons using public domain data. But I hope this has been helpful because you can see the power and ease of use of these tools, these raster tools inside ArcGIS Pro. Thanks for being with me.